Listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportsshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
It's about generating a feeling. It's not about it's not
that
art.
That feeling pisses me off. I'm not pissed that the Rangers scored a goal. I'm pissed that I have to listen to that.
Oh. You have no taste in music. What do the Ducks use?
They use Bro Hymn by Pennywise.
Never heard of it.
It's a good song.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty good song.
Well, Mike agrees with me that it's the Rangers' goal song is a good song. So you are outnumbered 2-1.
I do like the Rangers' goal song.
There you go.
Stupid.
We can debate this for days.
And you know what? Here you go, Zach. In context, it's better than San Jose's.
It is better than, well, yeah. But I give the Rangers credit for
there we go.
Making their own goal song, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, that's more innovative than half the league that uses that stupid, God, what is that thing called?
Is it the same one the Blue Jackets use?
Yeah, the da-na-na-na-na-na, and then everyone's supposed to chant after it.
Yeah.
It's by some Canadian guitarist. He made I looked him up, and that's the only type of things he's ever made are those things, and they get played as goal songs around hockey arenas all around the league.
God,
he's made a lot of money.
I was just going to say, I bet you he made a fortune off that.
Well, I don't know if they have to pay to use those things or not. If they have to pay some sort of royalty.
They usually do, yeah.
I'm sure he gets a cut of it somewhere along the line.
Either that or you sell it outright. You say, okay, give me X amount of dollars, and you can use it as much as you want.
Yeah.
But I know that when I worked in radio, it cost us about $150,000 a year.
Well, right. Radio makes sense because you're having to. That's their service is broadcasting. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But in a hockey game, I don't know if you have to pay for that.
Anywhere that you play licensed music like that, technically you're supposed to pay for it. Now, I'm not saying everyone
if I'm hosting
does.
a house party,
no,
do I have to pay for it?
Well, theoretically, yes. If it's a commercial venture, yeah, you are. Believe it or not. All that aside. I got to be honest, I don't know if I'd like the Rangers goal song as much if I didn't like the Rangers. So I'm kind of probably the wrong person to ask if it's any good or not.
Right. I mean, it's not like I have anything against the Rangers. I mean, I'm probably going to have to root for them in the Cup final. But
you're going to root for them over either Chicago or L.A.?
He ain't rooting for L.A.
That's for goddamn sure. Yeah, and, Chicago's won twice, so they don't need another one. I wouldn't be mad if they won, but I'd be.
It's all gravy. It's all gravy for me at this point because all the teams I absolutely did not want to win are out. So
this is.
You really need to take the bad defense line of thinking and hate things that happened to your team when you were 2 or 3 years old.
And hate the Kings?
I thought you were just going to say hate things for no apparent logical reason, but okay.
No, because I know for a fact the bad defense is, I think, a year younger than me.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he carries around the Marty McSorley curse like he does, because it doesn't mean a goddamn thing to anyone.
Yeah, he was born in 1990. And he still goes on about how the Canadians screwed the Kings out of a cup in 1993. It's like you weren't even aware it was happening when it happened.
That was the summer before the Ducks started playing.
That would be like me going around and whining and crying because the Browns lost the championship game, and I think it was 1969 when the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I have no memory of that, really. Mm-hmm. But that's the curse. That's where it all started, man. And don't tell me this is all just a coincidence.
I had never heard of the Marty McSorley curse until he started talking about it. And
is it really honestly a thing, or is it just something that he made up?
I'm convinced it's something he made up because I had never heard anyone even mention it in passing once. Yeah. So I'm convinced he made it up because that's just the kind of guy the bad defense is.
He's the kind of guy you want on your team.
Absolutely. Well,
could you imagine being in a foxhole with him?
I'd shoot myself.
All these yuppies.
No, I'd shoot him. What do they call it? I'd frag him. Isn't that what they call it when you shoot one of your own people?
I don't know.
I think that's what it is.
I've never been in a war.
Nor have I, thank God.
I've been in video game wars.
Yeah.
And I know that makes you a team killer. Team killing Pop-Tart.
I heard a thing today on, I think it was on Howard Stern. They played some audio of these two people that were playing some sort of online game. Some guy stole the other guy's powers or something, and the guy that got his powers stolen just flipped out. It was hysterical. And the other guy's like, dude, you just got to calm down. And the other guy's like,
You've never heard me play online hockey. My God.
You should listen to some people who play Halo online.
They get really into that stuff, don't they?
Yeah, Halo Online's got a reputation.
Call of Duty's worse.
Is there any way you can just go
Call
listen?
Call of Duty's worse.
Can you just listen in without playing, or do you have to be part of it to play?
No, you have to be playing.
Oh, that's too bad. That would really be fun.
Some people do post recordings of it on YouTube or whatever if you ever want to take a look.
I'll have to check that out. Rangers outshot the Habs 14-4 in the first period.
It's just a formality. Once Price went down, it was all over.
I told you, Mike, I had some thoughts on this series, and if you guys don't mind, I want to bring this up.
Okay.
Okay, it's pretty apparent when Price went down that the Rangers are probably going to win this series. I mean, it's not definite. Anything could happen, but they've got a 2-0 lead. They're leading here in Game 3 as we record this. Okay, so here's my thing.
As soon as Carey Price went out in Game 1.
It was over, right?
Yeah.
Here's my thing, okay? Now, I guess I'm happy that my second favorite team is going to probably make the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that great about it because it feels like they kind of backed in because they're not going to beat the best team Montreal can put on the ice to get there. My question to you guys is, okay, does it matter? Given the opportunity, would you have rather beaten the team at their very best, or you don't give a shit?
I don't give a shit if my team beats the other team. I don't care how it happens.
Okay.
Just that it happened.
I was just curious. I just wondered about that.
And I mean, you could say the same thing about Montreal, that they swept Tampa Bay with their backup goaltender.
That's true.
So, I mean, if you really want to draw it all the way back to that.
All right, well,
fair
enough. It's a wash then.
And beat Boston, who was the
and it's not like the Rangers. Yeah, they didn't. I mean, they earned their way to get to this point. So
Rangers had to come back and win 2 games.
Yeah, they came back from a 3-1 deficit and won a series. Yeah. So, okay. I was just curious. Yeah. I just didn't want to hear the whole, the Canadiens, if Price had been healthy, it would have been a different series. Well, it might have been, but guess what? It's not. So it's too bad.
It's all hypotheticals. It's what's put in front of you.
Exactly. You beat who's out there.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's all I had on that.
All right, well.
Do you want to do the postmortem on your Ducks now?
No.
Okay. I didn't know if you want to talk about it or not.
I mean, it's just so goddamn disappointing.
Dude, I felt terrible for you watching that game.
Because the same thing, like not to a T, but the same thing essentially happened last year. Detroit raced out to a 3-0 lead, and the Ducks were playing catch up all night. But you're sitting there watching. It's like they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
I don't care how hard they play the rest of the game. They didn't show up for the first 20, and when the Kings got up 2-0, well, first off, Justin Williams scored the first goal of that game. As soon as Justin Williams, who apparently only scores in Game 7s, he's played in 6 Game 7s, he has 6 goals. As soon as Justin Williams, Game 7 hero of lore, scored the first goal, as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh no, it's all going to happen, isn't it? That was just a bad omen. And then to go down 2-0 to the Kings is hard enough. Then you go down 3-0. And when it's 3-0, it's like, okay, well, pull the goalie now and maybe you have a chance to get the guys rallied. But then you wait until it's 4-0 and the game's really lost. And, we'll change the goalie now. It doesn't matter then. What does that prove by pulling the goalie when it's 4-0 against a team that all they're going to do is collapse and play defense for the next 40 minutes? It just sucked. And really, the thing that sucked the most was realizing once we were down so badly, you realize, like, oh, shit, there's only 20 minutes left in Teemu Solani's career. And that was the thing that sucked more. It's not losing the cup sucks, but I think the thing that immediately everyone in the building was just like, oh, well, this is it for Teemu. And the thing that once you realize that, nobody that was in the building, like usually in that case you'll see Ducks fans will leave early if the game's a blowout, but a lot of people stayed because they knew this was it. As much as I hate the Kings, after they do the handshake line, the entire Kings lineup stayed out and all tapped their sticks for Teemu.
Very cool.
That was classy.
Yeah.
But that's that.
Did Dustin Brown hip check him?
No. No. But Dustin Brown is a diving, dirty little piece of shit. I hated Dustin Brown before, but now it's like watching him for 7 games, I just ugh.
Well, so now we have to.
He's a waste of space. I don't know how he's the captain of that team. That's inexplicable to me.
Yeah, that is
Dustin
weird.
Brown is the captain of the game.
Like that is weird. Like I don't know, Mike Richards, like
Andre Kopitar.
Yeah. Yeah,
Jonathan Quick.
There are better options for captain on that team. I don't understand how
Brown was named the captain before all those guys came in, though. And there's never a reason to take it away from him. So I think they just kind of stick with it. I think if somebody had to re-vote for the Kings in the past 3 years, they probably give it to Kopitar.
Really quick, has a goalie ever been a captain?
Luongo was.
Was he?
The goalies aren't allowed to wear the C.
Yeah.
On their jersey. So what Luongo did is he just painted one on his mask.
Okay.
But because captains have the responsibility of being the one that's supposed to talk to the referees all the time.
Right.
And if you're the goalie, you're not supposed to be doing that. So they make it that only a position player can actually have the C on their jersey.
Now, when I was in high school, a goalie for one of the teams we played against had a G on his sweater.
Just in case you didn't realize with all the equipment and the pads and the mask and everything, just in case that wasn't enough.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah, it was. I was just kind of like, really, dude, really? But, yeah.
But I don't think that's a rule I think in college hockey I saw a goalie with a C on his jersey.
I'd never seen it. I just didn't know.
I know it's an NHL rule where goalies can't be, but. Luongo was the most high-profile guy in the Canucks at the time, so they made him the captain, and that only lasted for a year. And then they gave it to one of the Sedins. I think it was Henrik.
They should have given it to both Sedins.
You could do what Buffalo did at this year. What Buffalo did this year, they had home and road captains, and then they ended up trading both of them during the season. So.
That's
Buffalo, everybody. The Minnesota Wild during the Jacques Lemaire years. They had rotating captains. Like, there'd be a new captain every month.
Yeah, they voted, the team voted on a new captain each month.
Yeah. Which is equally dumb.
And I actually remember reading an article about it where it was a really big deal. Like, at the start of each month, they'd bring out the new captain, but they wouldn't tell him he was the captain, and then they'd give him, a jersey, his jersey encased in a frame, the C on the front, prominently displayed, you're the captain this month, champ.
Every
it's like
month?
Employee of the month?
Yeah.
Let us take your picture.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it was. That whole tradition, along with we retire number 1 for the fans, just kind of makes me shake my head at the Wild as an organization.
Well, at least the Wild have corrected that, and that there's a single captain.
Yes, well, yes. Now they finally, got their crap together.
You're a guy that played for them back then, and you're in a bar years later, and you say, I was captain of the month for the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah? Yeah, no. You're in the record books. You were the captain.
I was captain of the month.
Yeah.
That's right. So where are we at now? We've got the Rangers, the Habs.
The New York Hockey Rangers.
Yes.
They're up 2-0 in the series, tied 1-1 here in Game 2 in the Garden. And then
we got the Blackhawks and the Kings.
Blackhawks and Kings tied up 1-1 because
the Kings just won't die, and apparently the Kings only show up to play when their backs are against the wall.
Yeah, but
I hate that team. I hate that team.
Really? You hadn't told us that up until this point.
It's not even. I hate this particular Kings team. You shouldn't be able to do that.
To just flip a switch?
Yeah.
It's just like,
what's the purpose of playing the game?
What
does it matter?
We'll just take the first 3 games against San Jose off and not give a shit. Oh, we're down 3-0. Okay, let's go play hockey.
Just try hard all the time. Is that hard? Is it hard to play your best all the time?
I don't think Jeff
infuriates me so much.
I don't think Jeff Carter can be bothered to play his best all the time.
Wow. But that's what we got left. So it's pretty clear who I want the rest of the way.
I'm indifferent towards the Kings because I can't be worked up over something that happened when I was 6 and that I don't remember.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, as long as the Kings lose, I don't care.
All right.
I'd be fine with Chicago winning. I'd be fine with New York winning. I'd be fine with Montreal winning.
I think whoever wins the West is probably going to win it.
Yeah,
Probably. I think the difference, though, Lundqvist is playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. And if the Rangers go up against the Blackhawks, Lundqvist is better than Corey Crawford. As good as Corey Crawford can be, he can also play like he did last night and let up 6. Or I guess only 5.
Well, you talk about the Kings and their ability to flip a switch. I think the Blackhawks have a little bit of that in them, too.
Yeah, the Blackhawks can kind of take shifts off. But
yeah.
But the thing, too, is it's frustrating because I know that the Blackhawks are more talented than the Kings are. The Kings aren't – the Kings are just one of those – they're very structured. They're very deliberate. If you ever get a chance to go see the Kings in person – you watch everything they do, and it is the same thing every single time someone's on the ice. They have these structured, formulated breakouts and forechecks and defensive systems. They all move in concert. They're very well coached, and they execute their system well. They could do it all the time, but they just don't, I guess.
I was reading on the boards about the analytics that you've got, like the sabermetrics in baseball, and the Kings are one of these teams that like the analytic stats bode well for, right? Am I getting that right?
Well, because really the only analytics that are in hockey right now is it's a basic breakdown of possession, because they're trying. Apparently, they're going to try to implement a better technology to track this sort of stuff very soon. Same sort of stuff they use in basketball, where it's like this player tracking technology. But anyway, they the advanced stats, quote unquote, are 2 things called Corsi and Fenwick, and they're named after the people that created them. And it's really not that difficult. What Corsi and Fenwick basically are complete total number of shot attempts, not just shots on goal, but shots, block shots, and missed shots all added together. And so, in theory, the more shots you're taking, the better your possession time is, because you can't shoot if you don't have the puck.
Right.
But that's also sort of flawed in that if somebody could just come in the zone and shoot every time and be out of there in 3 seconds. But yeah, the possession numbers favor the Kings because they hold the puck, they move it well, and they grind you. They're a grinding team, and they don't let up a lot of shots on the other end of it because they play such good defense. They close up the lanes and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. It's just frustrating because the Kings. It's one of those stupid. It's like the argument that people always have against San Antonio, basketball, or even those Detroit Pistons teams that when they beat the Lakers. You could tell that, say, the Lakers were more talented than the Detroit Pistons, but the Pistons played a good system,
right?
And the Lakers didn't work well together or whatever. But that's a different dynamic, I guess. But it's more just the system team versus the talented team. But
I'm not a fan of these analytic stats. I'm
my
old
question.
school.
Yeah, because
it's hard because really that's not an analytics stat. It's total number of shot attempts. It's not all that crazy to figure out on your own.
Well, see, my thinking
the things that are cool that I like that they're using is a lot of these guys are tracking there's 2 other advanced things. The ones that I mentioned are the ones that are most popular because they're the easiest for some people to understand. Just total number of shots. Okay, fine. But the ones that are cool and work, I think, are much more interesting. People are keeping track of something called zone starts, which is basically, where you're taking faceoffs or what part of the ice you're getting put out on. Because you look at some stats, and there's some guys like the Sedins in Vancouver. They start out in the offensive zone about, I think, 75% of the time, whereas some guys that are like, say, Patrice Bergeron for the Bruins, he'll start out 60% of the time in his own defensive zone because he's a really good defensive center. And those are kind of interesting. And then they also track time against the quality of competition you're going up against. So that's useful for like defensemen or forwards. It'd be like, he didn't have a good game that game. Well, he didn't have a good game because of the 20 minutes he was on the ice. He played 15 against the top defensive pairing, or vice versa.
Right. Well, see, because I was thinking with the shot thing, when I used to play NHL 2001 on my computer, I had what was called the Mayhem offense, which was basically as soon as you got past the blue line, just start shooting. Yeah. So, I mean, is that really an effective stat? If you've just, I'm not saying that a real life team could do that, but when you're just firing the puck the minute you get across the line without rhyme or reason, I just don't know how much that could really tell you.
Right, and that's the flaw in the logic. Here, actually, let me pull up the site I use because they have definitions as to what.
Hey, Carl Eller plays for the Montreal Canadiens, number 81.
Lars Eller.
Well, Carl Eller was 81 for the Vikings back in the day. I just cracked me up.
Let me see, glossary.
I wonder if he wears 81 because of that. That would be funny.
Okay, well, see, the other thing is they break it down into they break it down further, like these Corsi and Fenwick. They break them down into close situations, which is if it's a 1-goal game, like what the difference, or if it's a tied or 1-goal game, what the difference in shot attempts is between the two teams.
Well, see, that's my question, I guess, when I brought this up, is that we saw it with the A's, with Moneyball and Billy Beane and all that. Is hockey headed in this direction where
I hope not. I really fucking hope not.
It's headed that way. It's not.
No.
I think all sports are headed that way.
It's not perfected yet because it's hard to track all this stuff, and some people don't know exactly what it exactly means.
That's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Mike.
I don't know. I haven't taken a math class since high school. Okay, there's a very good reason for that. Math is not necessarily my strong suit, and I immerse myself in sports because I enjoy watching, sports. Bringing all this just seems, and I say this about sabermetrics in baseball. You're missing the big picture if you just focus on all these stats and you don't actually just sit down and enjoy the game.
Right. And
I mean,
with these hockey stats, you can lose yourself in them. But the problem, the way that a lot of people just don't yet is because they're like, well, okay, this still doesn't tell me a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with these numbers is people aren't using them a whole lot yet because they don't know how to use them or what they exactly mean.
I know a lot of these stat-based hockey fans were going on about how the Leafs' late-season collapse was inevitable because according to the stats, they were playing above their means.
Right, and what they were saying was that the Maple Leafs were constantly being outshot, but still winning.
Yeah, and then sooner or later that trend was going to break.
Right, because they were playing with a very high shooting percentage and a very high save percentage. And usually those things don't sustain themselves.
Yes.
So eventually you're going to crash.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, but like 2 points. One, I could see all of that just by watching the team play without even having to refer to the stats. I could just say,
right. But that's what they're making the numbers for, though. Is like you can say, yeah, I see it, but this way you have a hard number. Like, yeah. Well, yeah, they're not doing that. Well, yeah, they're not doing it because this is the number and this explains it. That's all that's there for. They're just there to kind of help understand the game a little bit better if you want a hard fact rather than just – it's like when we said it's that hockey ESP thing. You can't explain that. Some people don't like that where it's just like I can't explain it, but this is how it works. But it has to be Sometimes
yeah, but you can't explain hockey ESP. You just know.
I know.
Like for example, in a couple of games in early March, like the Leafs would maybe win 3 or 4, and I didn't even have to refer to the stat book to say, yeah, well, they won 3 or 4, but they were outshot in 3 of those 4 games, so I guess we're lucky to get them. And right. It's just like, so it's that, and at the second. And, the second point is I can tell you why the Maple Leafs lost 9 games in a row to end the season and kill their playoff chances. Because Phil Kessel's a bitch and the team lacks motivation. That's why. And if you want to bring numbers into it, by all means do it. But I don't know. It's just
Right.
It's just not something how it's just not how I've really come to appreciate the game, I guess.
Right.
And I appreciate that stats exist and that they have their adherence. But it's just when, I just don't want every hockey discussion to turn into a math lecture.
Like it has with baseball.
Yes.
I don't think it will in hockey because in baseball, numbers you could, for the most part, numbers mean a whole lot more in baseball than they do in something.
Yeah,
like that.
Well, it's a lot easier to quantify things in baseball.
The thing you can never account for in any statistics is puck luck. Sometimes just things happen good for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't. In baseball,
there's not a lot of puck luck.
Right. It's pitcher versus batter, and
theoretically,
you could break things down and predict what's going to happen almost 80% of the time.
Like if you look at a scorecard for a baseball game, you could theoretically figure out exactly what happened.
Right.
From an ending-by-ending basis. But in hockey, you can't. Again, if you looked at the stat line in hockey, you really can't get a feel for how the game unfolded.
Right, and that's something for like the way the Maple Leafs were playing is, they weren't taking a whole lot of shots, but they were making a lot of them. And, they were making the most of their opportunities. And that's the positive way to spin it, not that, they're playing over their heads. Like, no, they're making what they have with what they can do.
But at the end of the day, though, isn't every sport, no matter what it is, everything, isn't it just a matter of these stats telling us that everything regresses to the mean, basically? At some point, you're going to, everything's just peaks and valleys, and then eventually it all evens out. I mean, it's a long, complicated way of saying it'll all work out in the wash.
Yeah, I don't need like a long stat sheet to tell me that every year the San Jose Sharks are going to choke in the playoffs. That's just nature's way.
But here's the thing. What if somebody could go back and look at the stats and break it down and say, well, this is why the Sharks are doing so badly all the time, and here's how they can fix it if they get people that do this, this, and this.
Well, see, you could do that, but then they still wouldn't be able to use that information because they still have Thornton and Marlowe locked into 3-year deals.
Well, but what if? Okay, but that's what I'm saying. What if they went and found that, Patrick Marlowe and Joe Thornton have a terrible make-up a statistic?
Yeah,
and it's just like, well, I guess that kind of explains it. We should have gotten rid of these guys a long time ago.
Well,
yeah. Go try and do it, and they sell
but
$1 or something.
But we could have told them that. We could have told them to get rid of them.
I know. But it's going to come. People are just it's
inevitable.
It's taking a long time to figure it out. But I did read a couple articles, I guess 2 weeks ago now. I actually had it in my tabs, but I didn't think of a way that I could explain it to you properly. Or make it interesting. But like you've heard about the player tracking technology that they have in basketball.
Yes.
Where there's like this, they have these infrared cameras or sensors or something, and they're able to track players on the court and ball position and get all these computer algorithms to figure crap out. Supposedly, whether it's this year or maybe the next year, or I guess next year or the year following, they're going to do some trial runs in hockey with it to try and see how well they could use it in hockey.
Does this mean we're getting the return of the Fox puck?
Oh, I hope so.
Well it wouldn't be the glow puck, but they would have to put a chip in the puck because
if
the difference in, say, hockey and basketball, a basketball is going to go generally where the basketball is going to go. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to track that a whole lot, but the puck takes bounces.
I'm just saying
and unlike basketball where guys have to check in to get into the game, hockey players are coming on and off the ice. So I guess in some of the trial runs they've done, the problem is tracking people coming on and off the ice and then the funny things the puck does.
I'm just saying that if you're
just trying to figure it out.
If you're already going into the puck to put a sensor, you might as well do the glow puck.
Yeah, why not? It'd be a lot better with technology now, too. I mean, it would look a whole lot better, I would think, especially in HD.
No. I want Fox 90s glow puck, like the shitty glow. I want it back.
Do you remember? Didn't it like if the shot was super fast,
was over 90, it turned red?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool is that, huh?
Yeah. No.
I love it when people try to make hockey extreme. It's amazing.
Well, though the other problem with those pucks was back then the chip was too big, and so occasionally the puck would explode because you couldn't just put the chip in the middle of the thing. You had to cut the puck open and then try to fuse it back together.
Well, now if you want to make it really explode, you could really make things interesting. say once a game for one shift, the exploding puck's going to be out there. We're never going to say when, but so that would be good. But I was just curious about the advanced stats in hockey. And like you're right though, Zach. All sports are headed this direction. Just get used to the idea, and if you don't like it, ignore it. I get tired of these days. If you try to talk baseball with anyone, all I do is get buried under a mountain of just things that on base percentage, slugging percentage, OBP plus whatever. It's just come on.
Well, here's a solution. Don't talk to people about baseball.
Oh, I can't do that. I actually started watching it again.
Just watch it.
Well, I'm just saying.
Don't talk about it. Just watch it.
I just think that you still gotta just like Mike said, you just gotta sit back and enjoy it. They take the fun out of it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But you know, like I said, you know that baseball can be more statistically quantified than any other sport.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How many World Series has Billy Beane won? That's right, none.
None, because at the end of the day, you've still got to have the pitching, which I just don't think they have when they get to the play. I don't know what happens to them in the playoffs. I was actually going to act like I did for a second there, but I really have no idea.
The baseball gods are angry at their heresy science, and they punish them.
They're like the Sharks. You just can't explain what happens to them when they get to the playoffs.
It's a Bay Area thing.
I guess so.
Or I guess it's a non-San Francisco Bay Area thing.
So does this mean that when the Warriors move back to San Francisco, they're going to roll off 3 straight NBA titles because they're no longer in the non-San Francisco portion of the Bay Area?
No, because apparently they have terrible ownership and don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and apparently their coach, they fire
they got
coaches.
Steve Kerr.
Yay for them. Speaking of the NBA playoffs, so it looks like Miami and San Antonio are well on their way to.
Miami did lose the first game. Technically, they're tied, but I don't expect the Pacers to play like they did in Game 1, and I expect the Heat to play more like they did in Game 2.
And Oklahoma City, that window is closing.
Oh God,
really
that
quickly.
window's no more window.
You think it's closed?
Did you see their last game, Greg?
Mike, what did you ask me? Did I see the game?
Yeah, did you see the last game?
No, I have not watched really any
the
NBA
Spurs
playoffs.
Just took them out behind the woodshed.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
that it was just a matter of they just beat them up basically.
Yeah, and I watched some of that game and I was going, good God, the Spurs team, like we've talked about before, but they continue to defy expectations. Like Tim Duncan's going to be 75 and he'll still be one of the best players in the league.
I will bet you, though, if you look at the advanced stats in the NBA, that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
Oh, they probably are, yes.
Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
I think the Spurs are one of the teams that use those things pretty well.
Well, it works for them.
I think it works because they use those stats to fill out the rest of their bench. Like, that Tim Duncan's good. Tony Parker's good. Manu Ginobili's good. And then you get all these kind of role players that are very effective. And boom, championship.
They've got their big three and a bunch of Robert Horry guys that just get it done. Yeah.
Yep.
But we're headed right down the road to a rematch of last year in the NBA.
So we went through this entire NBA season, this entire playoffs, just to get to where we all predicted we would be at the start of the season.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much any NBA season, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
As much as I want to like basketball, I do, but it's hard when the game is kind of predictable. You had some entertaining series in the Western Conference this year for once, but outside of that, everybody in the East sucked except for Miami and Indiana.
And they're in the Eastern Finals.
Right. You had some interesting stories and people playing against each other, but guess what? You still ended up with the Thunder and the Spurs.
Exactly. We've talked about it countless times on the show, but until the competitive balance works itself out a little bit, it's just hard to get excited about the NBA because you could be the most hardcore Houston Rockets fan in the world, but you know that you're not going to win the title. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
You just know it.
Houston had a very good season.
Exactly.
I think they were the fourth seed or the fifth seed.
Four, yeah.
But they had a very, very good season.
Yeah.
But they're still not better than the Spurs. They're still not better than the Thunder.
Right.
They're still not better than even the Clippers were. They lost to Portland.
Well, that's the thing too. The Clippers. There was all through the season. The Clippers might have don't.
The Clippers might have gotten. They were better, but they're still not the Spurs. They lack the execution. If in baseball, if everyone sucked, except for the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and the Giants and the Cardinals and the White Sox or the Cubs, nobody would care. You know?
Like Mike said, we went through 82 games in all these playoffs to end up right where we all knew we were going to be. What's the fun in that?
And this, and to bring it all the way full circle, and this is why the Los Angeles Kings frustrate me. It's like, why bother being as good as you are in the regular season if you're just going to, I think they finished like 20 points behind the Ducks. But yet they were still one of the cup contenders because, they could turn it on in the playoffs and Jonathan Quick and blah, blah, blah.
And they did.
Play good. Be a good team. Don't do this garbage.
Well, eventually you're not going to be able to hit the switch. It's just just like you bring it full circle again. Eventually you will regress towards the mean and you won't be able to do this. But until then, here we are.
Yeah.
So
hopefully the Kings blew their wad in one game.
I don't think they
scored 6 goals.
I don't think they get past the Blackhawks. I just don't.
No.
I think I said it at the beginning of the playoffs. I'm going to stick by it. I think the Blackhawks repeat this year. I would love to see the Rangers be able to knock off either one of them, but I just realistically don't think that they don't have the guns to do it. It's just one of those things. They're just not as good as those two teams.
Yeah, I am kind of sad that Montreal is probably going to get eliminated because I love games in Montreal. I like Montreal in general. I like
it's a good
the
city.
Atmosphere they have there. Yeah.
It's a good city. And
it would have been fun to have a Stanley Cup final back, like not just in Canada, because we've had them in Canada, but come on, Ottawa. You want to compare a party in Ottawa to a party in Montreal, or a party in Calgary or Edmonton?
Oh, come on, Calgary's the Manhattan of the whatever it is. Western. What area is Calgary in, Mike? What do you call that area?
The prairies.
Calgary is the Manhattan of the Canadian prairies, folks. Right? With the Saddle Dome and the rodeo and everything? Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, in a big thing, Maclean's Magazine, a Canadian news magazine up here, did a study a few years back and determined, I'm not sure how they determined it, but they determined that Calgary was Canada's most cultured city.
Really?
Most cultured city?
Over Toronto?
Calgary?
Which surprised
Montreal?
Which surprised everyone, considering that when you think of Calgary, two things come to mind. Rodeos and where Stephen Harper is from.
Who?
Our Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
Oh, okay.
Our Prime Minister. He's from Calgary.
Who was at the game, too, the other day.
Yeah. He's actually our the Prime Minister of Canada, to probably the shock of no one, has actually written a book on the history of hockey.
Right, you told us about that. Yeah. But hey, Canada.
Hey. Yeah. But, that surprised everyone. Like, really? Calgary? Really?
Hey, I'm down with that. I love me some Calgary, man. Come on.
Well, I've heard Winnipeg as called the Paris of the prairies.
Exactly. You see, that's the thing. People are missing out, and it's a well-kept secret. And
the Canadian prairie.
Yeah, and they're not going to say anything about it because they don't want us all piling in there to just ruin the magic of the area.
Because it's not like there's not enough room there.
Now, I've actually been to Winnipeg.
Oh, yes.
And I can say that I have never seen so much flat land in my life.
So Winnipeg more like the Toledo of the prairies than, say, the Paris of the prairies, is what you're saying, Mike?
I'd say it's probably closer to Toledo, but I'd say that by being closer to Toledo, it makes it the Paris of the prairies because, we're talking about managing expectations for that part of the country.
All right. So
I love prairie folk. They're very nice.
Of course, the huge prairie folk audience that we have here on the show.
How can you hate Saskatchewan?
You can't with a name like that. You just can't.
Exactly.
Saskatchewan.
And Saskatchewan is governed by the Saskatchewan Party, which they're not separatists. They're just really happy about being from Saskatchewan.
And you gotta like that.
When you're in the middle of the country, you can't exactly separate from anything.
Yeah, Saskatchewan's got
Where are you gonna go?
Canada on like 4 sides.
Like Quebec, it's like, all right, we can push you out into the ocean or something.
Yeah.
But...
Cool.
The NBA has announced that they will be transferring the history of the Charlotte Hornets, the first team, from the New Orleans Pelicans and giving them to the Charlotte Bobcats, who are renaming themselves the Hornets.
At
So
what
the
point?
New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah,
What's the line of demarcation here?
Charlotte?
Charlotte, yes. So
once-
the New Orleans Hornets history will stay with the Pelicans.
So the New Orleans Hornets are an expansion team?
Yes, officially.
Geez, that's dumber than what they did with the Browns.
Yes, it is.
That is just stupid.
Yes, it
So
is.
I hate this.
I do
Yeah.
too.
I hate that because
Yeah.
they're not the same.
No, and this is
no.
ridiculously.
So now, if they take away like all those half of those records, does that make Chris Paul like the leader in every Pelicans / New Orleans Hornets franchise history leader?
Yes, it does.
This is so stupid. This is like next week on the show, Mike and I are going to trade histories. I'm going to become him. He's going to become me, and we'll start from 2001 forward.
Well, here we go. How about if we're going to take this all the way? Does that mean that the Hornets / Pelicans also get the New Orleans Jazz history, and the Utah Jazz are an expansion team?
You know,
Does that mean that? Hey, what about those games that the Hornets played when they were in Oklahoma City? Do the Thunder get that too?
You know, if we're just going to ride this train of nonsense to its logical conclusion, then that is what we have to do.
Right. If you're going to do that, if you're no, seriously though, if you're going to try to work it like that, then the Minneapolis Lakers are the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Wow, they just got a whole shitload of banners, didn't they?
Yeah, just got 11 championships.
Way to go.
So good on you, Minnesota.
There's all of a sudden reason to be a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. Do you want to be?
And then you'll see the Timberwolves breaking out like the Lakers throwbacks when they play the Lakers, and it's just going to be a mess. And yeah,
No, but seriously though, that is if they want to do that,
Exactly.
then do it. Do it for everybody. You can't just decide all of a sudden now that we're going to split. The Hornets have been in New Orleans since when?
2002.
2002.
So you've got, 12 years of history?
12 years. 12 years of history that you're just going to retcon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I said when we first talked about this, they're going to put the.
How long were the Hornets in Charlotte the first time? 88?
Was it 88? Yeah. Was it that long ago?
It was 88. Yes.
88. So what? 14 years of history in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were practically in New Orleans for as long as the time they were in Charlotte.
Yes.
And you're just going to split it in half.
They're just going to put it in a FedEx box and ship it back to Charlotte. Simple as that.
And that's what pisses me off, because you have people saying, "Oh, I'm so glad we got the history back. Oh, I don't mind trading histories." And then I can't help it.
You can't trade histories.
Exactly. That's what I mean. I can't help it. It's just the way I maybe it's because of what I went to school for, but I just think in my head, like, history isn't tradable. Like, Greg, what you just said, we can't just trade histories and suddenly I'm you and you're me. That doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. It just doesn't. This reminds me of not really doesn't. It makes no sense, but this is similar to when I first joined Facebook. I was going to only be friends with people that had my name, and you know what I mean. It's just stupid. It's just
if you move to another city and you traded places with another Greg?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you?
I assume that person's
give him your history.
I guess he gets my history from the point that I left forward or whatever.
If you moved to Sioux Falls, and then a Greg from Sioux Falls moved to say Cleveland, would you guys switch names and suddenly you've always been the Greg of Sioux Falls?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just have to decide. It's just so stupid.
So, does that mean that the Winnipeg Jets get the Bobby Hull stuff too?
No, because you see, in a rare case of the NHL being out-stupided, the NHL has actually left the original Jets lineage with the Phoenix Coyotes,
as they should,
and actually, if you can still see this if you go to the current Jets webpage and you go to team history, it's all of their history is the Atlanta Thrashers.
Well, here's my question. All right, now believe it or not, there's a certain level where what they're doing actually kind of makes sense, sort of. But here's my thing. So when you go back to say 2006, now are they still called the New Orleans Hornets at that point, or did they retcon that and they're now the Pelicans for that whole time?
Well, they were.
They're the Hornets.
They're the Hornets. Right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, all right. Another question. So let's see here. So the Bobcats came into existence when?
In 2004.
So from 2004 until now, which is
2014.
10 years, right?
Yes.
So what happens to that? How does that work?
The Bobcats' history will be maintained, but under the banner Charlotte Hornets.
Oh my God!
No, wait.
Like they're not
retroactively calling them the Charlotte Hornets?
No.
That was my question about the Pelicans.
Okay.
No, they're not going to retroactively call them the Hornets because that would be hilarious. But no, they're not going to actively but it's considered part of the Charlotte Hornets team history. So now that all this nonsense has been done,
so in theory they were the Hornets.
2-year hiatus.
So they took a nap.
And then came back as the
Bobcats. Realized, they came out of their state like, wait, we're not actually the Bobcats, we're the Hornets.
This is like what's that thing? Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah,
you guys, it's like can something exist simultaneously in two different places?
I mean, I'll just call it what it is, and it is Orwellian rewriting of history. I mean, read 1984, and you basically got like what this is. We are the Charlotte Hornets. We have always been the Charlotte Hornets,
except for when we were the Bobcats and when we were in New Orleans. But other than that, yeah.
If anyone else says that we moved to New Orleans or became the Bobcats, that's a thought crime.
Wait,
I mean, that's pretty much what we're at.
Wait, where are they saying this, by the way?
It was announced at a press conference at the end of the season. Not the end of the season. It was like that past couple of days. The Bobcats / Hornets had a press conference to make the
officially change the name.
Yeah, to make the name change official, and it was at that they announced that the NBA was giving them all the history.
Well, this is kind of great in a way because using the Greg in Sioux Falls and the Greg in Ohio, so now I can really, if I want to, I can get rid of all the stuff that I'm not proud of. I can just pawn it off on the other guy.
Yeah, you could just everything you did that you're not.
Here it is. Team announces several upcoming Hornets rebranding initiatives, statistical info, records, and history of Charlotte NBA basketball also returns to Hornets. God damn it.
Yeah.
No, that's just stupid. Because they're not the Charlotte.
No.
They are the Charlotte Hornets, but they're not the Charlotte Hornets.
They're not the original. No, the original Charlotte Hornets are now the New Orleans Pelicans. That is what happened.
No, that's what happened. We were all there for it.
Yeah,
we saw it.
They played.
Remember those awful alts that they had with the purple and the what? So who's responsible for that now?
New Orleans,
the Pelicans now.
So
officially.
Okay. Well, how did they resolve this in Cleveland? They just said that the Browns went dormant. They basically said that the Browns
just ceased to exist for 3 years, 4 years, yeah.
So, but this is kind of the same thing, I guess.
But this is, yeah.
You said it's worse than the Browns. I don't know if it's that much worse.
It's the same as the Browns, basically, but. Yeah. But that's the thing.
How did the Thunder work it out? The Sonics stuff stayed in Seattle too, didn't it?
No, the Thunder, it's actually in a weird kind of limbo. Like, they did a half Cleveland deal. The way that it worked was that the city of Cleveland retained the name Cleveland. Not Cleveland. The city of Seattle retained the Supersonics name and all that stuff.
Right.
But that the history went with the team. But the way that it worked was that if Seattle got a team within 5 years of the Sonics leaving, then the Thunder would send the history back, which is an absolute statement. But the way it works, like, it's been 5 years.
I guess
get a couple of interns to go in the back and grab the history and put it in a box.
Exactly.
That makes a little bit more sense, and only so far as there's like a grace period. Like, I can understand a team taking a couple seasons off for one reason or another, but you can't do that for 12 seasons.
Here's the
like, that just doesn't. You don't get to do that.
Here's the problem with this at its core. Okay, and using the Browns as an example.
It's insane.
That too, but the problem is this. The Cleveland Browns that exist today are not the Cleveland Browns from the 1980s. Everybody knows that. They're the Baltimore Ravens now. So you can say what you want. And I understand the whole history thing. It makes perfect sense and all that. But they're different. It's just not the same. It's as simple as that. It wasn't that the Browns went away. They didn't just disappear for 3 years. They moved to Baltimore. So even though you're saying, well, we didn't exist for these years, well, you really kind of did.
You know what? I just realized why it's worse. Because it's not like – the reason that the Browns and Thunder kind of work is because as soon as they change cities, they change names.
Right.
And then whenever the expansion team was to come in Seattle, or the way the expansion team came in Cleveland, they were immediately the Browns.
Right.
They would immediately be the Sonics. If the New Orleans Hornets had changed their name to the New Orleans Pelicans back then,
yeah,
and then the new Charlotte team comes in, then they immediately become the Hornets instead of the Bobcats.
Right.
You could pass it off a little bit easier.
Right.
But we're 10 years into the Bobcats.
We're 10 years into
all of a sudden we're the same Charlotte Hornets as the old ones.
Well, and plus the poor Bobcats finally had a pretty decent season this year, and guess what? Who gets credit for that now?
The Hornets.
It's part of the
new
Hornets. Hornets history.
Yeah, Hornets.
Oh.
But, and that's what makes this frustrating, because, we had years and years and years of New Orleans Hornets basketball.
Right.
They made the playoffs a bunch of times, for God's sake. And it's just so frustrating. It's like you said, Greg, you can't just go into the back and pack up the history.
Sure you can. We've seen it happen a couple times now.
Hold on. I'm gonna check something out now. I'm going to the New Orleans Pelicans website. Do they have a history section? Because I want to see who they now have listed as their stats leaders. Maybe it's in there. Who do they have listed as their all-time leader?
But this is the thing. Isn't this now the third version of the Hornets?
Wait, when did they move? When did they move to New Orleans?
2002.
If you go to the New Orleans website and you click on, you go to team and you go to stats, you can select a season. You can now no longer select the season before 2002.
Even though, technically speaking, the New Orleans Hornets, the New Orleans Pelicans were founded in 1988 as the Charlotte Hornets.
I'm gonna hold on. Let me go back to the Charlotte website.
Go to the Bobcats website and see who they have.
They're the Hornets.
Yeah,
they're the Hornets now. Let's see. Players, team stats. Okay. Display. Wait a second.
If we're not careful, we're going to create some sort of paradox.
Hold on. When did the Bobcats come back?
2004. We're in the Bobcats.
Because I can select the 03-04 season, 02-03 season, 102 season.
Yeah, you could select the 1996-1997 season, even though, as far as I'm aware, that the Charlotte Bobcats were not around.
We are going to create a paradox and disappear into our own very existence if we aren't careful here.
Wait, hold on. No, but okay, if I go to 96, 97, there's no statistics available.
I'm guessing.
So you said they moved in 2002?
Yeah.
What if I go to 2002? What's on here? Maybe they're still in the process of filling all these forms out.
That stuff hasn't been shipped over yet.
Yeah,
it's still in boxes.
It's still in boxes.
It's in the history is in transit at the moment.
See if it has a tracking number, Zach. We can track it, see where it is.
Oh, speaking of that,
the Hornets' history is in Memphis, waiting transfer to another truck.
Stupid.
By the way,
so stupid.
Go ahead, Mike.
Speaking of packages, Greg, you got the Stanley Cup I
sent.
Oh,
my God, yes.
Oh, I did too.
Oh, my God, it is the coolest thing ever.
I haven't taken it out of the box yet.
I am not taking mine out of the box.
I don't know if I'm ever going to eat it.
I'm not eating mine. Mine is right up. I've got a little hockey display amongst my memorabilia, and I've got all my pucks and my Rangers mask, my Mike Richter mask, my little mini Stanley Cup, and then I've got my Hershey's Stanley Cup on the right-hand side, and it's awesome. It's so cool.
If the Ducks ever win the Cup again, I'll eat it when we win the Cup.
You can't eat it, man. You cannot get these in America, right, Mike?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah. It's a collector's item.
What you need to do, Zach, speaking of the Ducks, is...
I should have just told you to get me two so I could eat one.
What you should do is you should petition the league to give the Mighty Ducks the Ducks the Mighty Ducks stats from the movies.
There you go.
Under team history.
Charlie Conway, franchise leader.
Yeah.
Franchise leader at Triple Deeks.
I want the Pittsburgh Steelers history. I want that to be. I wonder what it would take to get that moved to Cleveland. Because that's like 6 Super Bowls right there.
You might have to pay, but I think if you paid enough money, you could probably get it.
We could probably overnight it, I bet. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
This just, I mean, we ridicule it. I understand what they're trying to do, but like I said, this is the 3rd version of the Hornets now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, the first Charlotte version, the New Orleans version, and now the new Charlotte version, which is actually the Bobcats.
Yes.
Who replaced the original Hornets who went to New Orleans and became the Pelicans.
Wikipedia has already even changed the section to where it starts in 2002. It says suspended operations.
But they didn't. They moved.
I know they didn't.
They played for years as the New Orleans Hornets. They had the logo and everything.
That's where it gets
really frustrates me.
It is.
Because it's like that's not what happened.
Hey guys,
what happened?
Guys,
we were there. I saw it.
You want to trade national histories with Canada?
Sure.
Can
you guys will become
Canadians. Claim the Maroons history.
There's actually something interesting like this happened.
Oh God! Please don't tell me they did.
No, they didn't. They didn't. Okay, so you know how the Maroons played as English Montrealers teams, right? Well, there's a rink, not a very big rink. It's just like a rink in a English community in Montreal, Westmount, and they've got the Montreal Maroons Stanley Cup banners hanging up in there.
Oh,
Now, a few years back, there was talk that the Canadians were going to bring those banners into the Bell Center.
Right, because I know when I went there, I thought it was cool they had some of the Expos stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, they talked about moving the Maroons banners into the Bell Center, and it was decided against because the team said this, we're not the Maroons. We can't just take their history.
Well, hey, tell the Ottawa Senators that.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that the Ottawa Senators have those Stanley Cup banners from the original team.
They're so stupid.
I
looked at them, and it's like in their current logo, or I guess their 93 logo, 93 colors. Like those aren't yours.
What's funny is that
you don't get those.
The Ottawa Senators keep petitioning the league to ask that they be granted the original Senators history, and the league tells them to piss off each time.
What? Okay.
So
what happened to the
original 6 to the original 7?
Yeah.
What happened to the original Senators, Mike?
They moved to St. Louis, spent one season as the St. Louis Eagles, and then folded.
Okay.
Yep.
And that was when? Back in
the 30s.
In the 30s.
The 30s was when they moved, I think.
So the current Ottawa Senators want to go back to the 1930s and pick up a couple of cup banners that they have no association with whatsoever.
They hang them anyway.
They have banners in the building.
They hang them anyway.
Oh my
God! They actually hang the banners.
Yeah.
With their original, with the 93 Senators logo.
With the Centurion logo too. Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, they have them.
I took pictures.
Oh my God.
I'll pull them up. It's quite funny because it's like Ottawa Senators, 1927 Stanley Cup champions with their 90s logo on it.
But see, this is like you said, Zach. We were there. We saw it happen. You can call it whatever you want, but it just looks so stupid because it wasn't you.
Yeah, no. This current Charlotte team was founded in 2004. They were called the Bobcats, and they sucked forever, and that's that.
But they had a logo that you liked.
I did like their logo, and I'm actually wearing my Bobcats sweater for the show in honor for the history that has been stripped away.
So tonight, I guess it's wear the pathetic losing franchise night because I've got a Houston Astros T-shirt on. So there you go.
I have the picture of it.
All right.
And the worst thing is these banners look like garbage.
Yeah, they're really cheap
because they're not cloth. They're like plastic.
Oh, they're like vinyl.
Yeah.
Right.
And they sure do, don't they? Oh my God.
Yeah. 1920 Stanley Cup champions.
1927 Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, I mean they won 11 Stanley Cups?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ottawa Senators want to claim 11 Stanley Cups that they didn't win.
Yeah, the old team won before them. And they keep asking the league to get the history, and the league keeps telling them no.
Wait a minute. So, now, okay, using the setup that we've established here, don't those cups belong to the Blues? Technically,
no. Using the NBA retarded setup,
those cups would belong to Ottawa, and then one fateful year of the St. Louis Eagles would be the Blues.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, the Colorado Avalanche used to be the Colorado Rockies,
right?
And
not the Quebec Nordiques.
No.
So whatever happened to the Nordiques?
Well, they ceased to exist. They're waiting around for the arena to be built,
and then they'll come back magically. Now, here's the question. Okay, so if they get their history back like this, so then they pick up a couple of extra. They get some Stanley Cups, right? How many has Colorado won? 2?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, too. If Ottawa were to magically be granted those Stanley Cups, they would go from having having 0, obviously being last, to all of a sudden being tied with the Detroit freaking Red Wings for third most cups. Because the original Ottawa Senators won a bunch of Stanley Cups before the 30s.
So basically, then they would go from being a team that I don't even remember exists to number 3 on the list of most Stanley Cup wins.
To being one of the most prestigious teams in the history of hockey.
Well, you really can't blame them for wanting to do that if you think about it.
Okay. It'd be different if they had survived the original turmoil of the NHL and stuck around to be part of the original 7, but guess what? They didn't.
No.
Did the Rangers claim that? Wasn't there like a New York Americans before the Rangers?
No. The Rangers don't claim them. No.
But they did exist.
They were
right?
different. They were different teams.
Because
the Rangers played against the Americans. They were different teams. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they did exist.
I didn't know they existed simultaneously. Okay.
Yeah, they were the New York. There was the New York Americans, and they became the Brooklyn Americans.
Okay.
Even though they played in Manhattan.
Right. Even though they played the same arena the Rangers.
Oh, kind of like what the Islanders are going to do.
Yeah.
They're going to be now, have they decided they're going to be the Brooklyn Islanders or the New York Islanders?
No, they're the New York Islanders.
Okay.
They're going to be the
already
New York
said they're not
Islanders, and
changing.
they're going to make a Brooklyn alternate jersey.
So they're probably going to have a black and white alternate jersey.
Yeah.
How long
Approved
do you
by
think that lasts
JZ.
before JZ?
I don't know. As long as they do something with it, I guess it's fine.
This is all giving me a headache. Ladies and gentlemen, Zach's tabs.
So we'll get this one out of the way quickly because
Okay.
I know how much you don't like to talk about this, Greg. World Cup soccer news.
Oh God! All right,
Well, the United States released its 23-man roster today.
is that dude with the crazy hair on it?
Carlos Valderrama?
No. What was his name?
Kyle Beckerman?
No, never mind. Go ahead.
Anyway, Landon Donovan.
That's the
did
dude
not
I'm
make-
thinking of.
Landon Donovan doesn't have crazy hair.
Well, who was? All right, whatever. That's the name I was thinking of.
Anyway, Landon Donovan did not make the team.
Why not?
Really?
Well, he's the U.S.'s all-time leading goal scorer in international play.
Yeah, he's got like 5, right?
He's 57 goals for the men's national team. Scored a very electric goal that sent the U.S. to the knockout round in 2010.
Well, God, I mean, no wonder they didn't bring him on the team to score 57 goals. He's got to be, what, like 90?
How old is Landon? I think he's like 34.
No.
I'm
all right.
surprised he didn't make the team because, he's pretty much the face of U.S. soccer.
Right, and the thing is, I don't know why they didn't put him on either, because he's still a guy that can score goals, and that's always going to be the U.S.'s problem is goal scoring. They're a scrappy bunch. They can play decent enough defense, and if they get good goaltending from Tim Howard, they can make something of it, but it's not going to mean a whole lot if they can't put the ball in the net.
Also, they're in a group with a bunch of teams that will, murder
Yeah.
them. So.
Group of Death, I think we named it, didn't we?
Right. It's going to be difficult for them to get past Brazil and Portugal in the first place, let alone Ghana. But
Isn't Brazil pretty much a powerhouse in soccer?
well, here's the thing. Brazil is a powerhouse, and because they're hosting it, they got free entry into the World Cup. So they didn't even have to try.
Yeah,
to get
but
in.
apparently they're more behind schedule in terms of stadium construction than Russia was in Sochi. So
Oh, boy.
that'll be fun.
Russia's also, by the way, the World Cup's supposed to be in Russia in 4 years, and they're also behind on those. So,
But will we get more dogs? That's the important thing.
well, I think
dogs
one of the-
rush
I think
the-
one of the Sochi the stadium where they held the opening and closing ceremonies, that was supposed to host one of the World Cup matches.
Oh.
Is it now full of dogs?
We could have the return of
probably
the
a
dogs
kennel.
of Sochi.
Probably
That would
the
be
big
awesome.
kennel.
So seriously, serious question about this. So is the soccer community up in arms because Donovan didn't make the team?
It's kind of half and half because he's older. He hasn't been playing all that well leading up into the World Cup season, but at the same time, he's Landon Donovan. You think you give him one more kick at the can just because I don't think any rational U.S. fan they can't have too much high hopes for. This
I was just going to say, I don't think anyone realistically believes they're going to win the thing, so why not?
No, I mean it'll be a miracle if they get out of the group in the first place. And even if they do make it to the knockout rounds, quarterfinals is like the high mark of this team. And that's not exactly like a given. So, I don't know. I thought they would just do it but it'll be the first World Cup team without him since 1998. You want to do a little basically Geek Show crossover?
Sure.
The Batman-Superman movie has a title.
Woohoo! Dawn of
Batman-
Justice.
Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. In Montreal, wins in overtime, by the way.
I just heard the crowd go wild, but I did not hear what happened.
Anyway, so...
The Habs are still in it.
Here's my thoughts. Dawn of Justice, fine. Batman v Superman, stupid.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they just called it Dawn of Justice, okay.
But then you wouldn't...
If they had just, even if they had just called it Batman versus Superman, while dumb, it'd be okay. But why couldn't they just call it Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice? Or just Dawn of Justice?
Well, because then you wouldn't know that Batman is in it. And I know that seems... I know, but...
The logo has the giant bat symbol.
I understand that,
used
but...
with a Superman crest.
This is people we're talking about here, and you have to kind of take them by the hand and lead them through everything.
That is true.
And from a marketing standpoint, there's just no way they had to have Batman and Superman in the title.
But yeah, in terms of movie titles, the James Bond movie called License to Kill.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The plot is about James Bond getting his license to kill revoked, and the original title was going to be License Revoked until focus group tests confirmed most people didn't know what the word revoked meant.
God. In context to that, or just in general?
In general.
Oh, Lord.
Right.
Why does that not even surprise me?
So anyway, between this movie trying to be the sequel to Man of Steel, as well as bringing in Batman, as well as trying to make a reason for Batman to fight Superman, as well as having a reason of Batman and Superman fighting, as well as a reason for them to team up against Lex Luthor, as well as introducing Wonder Woman into it, and as well as setting up the Justice League. This movie has a lot of things to do.
Well,
it
here's
has a lot
my
of things
question.
to do, and it's going to be a clusterfuck.
I was just going to ask, do you have high hopes?
The same weekend as Captain America 3. So
Do you have high hopes for this movie? Because I don't.
No.
I wanted to, but the more and more that you hear about it, just like
Really, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when they got Jesse Eisenberg to play Lex Luthor. I'm sorry, that...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, I'd be okay with it. The problem is,
he's got like the attitude to pull it off. I guess he can do that like smarmy, snarky guy thing, but
Yeah,
but like, doesn't strike me as a criminal mastermind in that.
Like,
you know what I mean with that.
Like I kind of view Lex Luthor as like a Machiavellian badass, not so much like a swarmy, snarky pissant who Superman could just like punch in the face.
Yeah. I heard this brought up somewhere else a couple months ago. Do you think there are too many superhero movies now?
Yeah, probably.
Well, yeah, because superhero movies are just the cheap way for sci-fi movies to be made.
No, there is, and it pains me to say this as a Marvel fan, but it's mostly Marvel's fault because like
Marvel had to make 8 things before they could make the Avengers, and now everyone else decides that they need to do this.
And Marvel, because they had such a big hit with the Avengers, is now scraping the bottom of the barrel. And like when Guardians of the Galaxy gets a major theatric release, I think it's time that we all take a step back.
Man,
But as a caveat to that, with each successful trailer that comes out for Guardians of the Galaxy, the more I really want to see that.
Yeah, I guess.
It actually looks like it's going to be a fun movie.
It does, but at the same time, I'm like, I still not past the point where I've gotten past, they made a Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
I know. It's stupid. But, and to go back on that whole thing, I heard an argument today, and it actually made sense. If you go all the way back, and if the Green Lantern movie didn't suck...
Oh, God, and it sucked hard.
If the Green Lantern movie was good, DC would have gotten the jump start on having the Justice League and beaten Marvel to the punch.
Yeah, it would have, but that movie
if
was
Green
just
Lantern
terrible.
had worked, then you could have tied it in with Batman, you could have made a Superman, you could have done everything you wanted to do, and you could have Justice League come out way before Marvel even got Iron Man really off the ground.
Yeah.
So, but here we are now, DC's playing catch-up, and they're trying to force it.
Hey, are you looking forward to Gotham?
Has there been a good DC comic movie yet? I'm trying to think.
The Batmans.
The Nolan
Oh,
Batman.
God, the Batman's. God, all right, I'm sorry.
Those are going to be out of continuity. That's like its own thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that sucks, is that really, I mean, the only good DC movies are the Dark Knight trilogy, the first Batman, the second Batman I could take or leave,
You're talking
and the original Superman movies.
Yeah.
You're talking the Michael Keaton Batmans, right?
Yeah.
The first one was, but that's that's the thing.
Batman was good. Batman Returns was.
Not so
I don't
much.
like Batman Returns because Batman Returns was Tim Burton going full Tim Burton.
I don't even think of the Dark Knight trilogy as part of the DC movie universe. That's
right. It's Batman.
Right,
It's
exactly.
different. Right.
But
And
it's
the
like Green
original
Lantern
Superman
was horrible.
was good.
Yeah, the first two.
And God, and you know what? I thought Ryan Reynolds was going to be a good Hal Jordan. I liked some of the visuals I saw initially.
The problem, it really wasn't even Ronald. It really wasn't even Ryan Reynolds' fault. The script just sucked.
It was
the
just
script was
awful.
terrible.
And having him glow all the time was weird.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
I was really disappointed
And they
because I
tried to-
loved the Green Lantern when I was a kid, and it was just like, man, this is just one big, huge pile of suck. This movie, it was awful.
And the same thing that's going to happen with this movie. They tried to do too much too fast. They tried to give you everything that goes along with the Green Lantern all in one shot. Like, you can't just introduce the entire Green Lantern Corps all at once,
Right.
and expect people to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
All right, so we lost Zach again. You know what? It was the Disneyland police that.
It was either that or California's internet burnt down.
Well, that's right. They're having some fire problems out there, aren't they?
Yeah, it's quite. I mean, the same thing happened on Bags. We had to break our WrestleMania episode in half because halfway through our recording the show, Kentucky had a case of wildfire.
Wow.
Yeah, and it didn't affect Jack directly, but the lines, the cable lines, got burnt down. So in the middle of our WrestleMania 10 show on Bags, we had to stop and pick it back up the next day.
Wow.
So it's quite possible that a wildfire just out in Southern California burnt down Zach's internet.
Well, it could be, but yeah, he's gone. So we will move on. I guess, Mike, the last thing we've got to do is do the big announcement. Yeah, that I believe me, folks. I swear I didn't pull the old TV radio trick where we waited till the end of the show. This is just how it turned up. I swear we didn't drag it out to the end to make you listen to the whole show. And I will put on the message boards and stuff that if you just want to hear the announcement, go to the end of the show. But it is with great fanfare that we announce we are bringing back the Logocast. So there you go. Mike and I, and well, actually, we're going to have. Let me try to explain this quickly here. It's going to be Adam, who you know as Atomic from the boards, Mike from our show here, myself, and the two Mikes that used to do the Logocast are also going to be involved. We know that the show is going to be monthly. We know that we're going to try to bring back the interviews and all that stuff, and we're kicking around some other ideas with it, but we do know for a fact that the Logocast is coming back, so if you're a uniform geek and you liked it the first time around, we're making quite a few changes to it. It's not going to be the same show it used to be, but same content, same idea, same bit, and it'll be back.
Logocast 2.0.
Logocast.
Oh,
There you go, man. That'll be it. So that's the big announcement. The Logocast is coming back. We don't know exactly when. Probably, I'd say, within, I got to say, at the very least, the next month or so. Or at the very most, I should say.
I got to say, probably sometime over the summer, early summer.
Right, yeah. We were talking like after Memorial Day, which is actually coming up real quick like here. But I would say no more than 4 weeks from now, we will be back with the Logocast. It's going to be monthly now instead of weekly, and should be good. Should be fun.
I think making it a monthly production is going to ease some of the problems that the original run had.
Yeah, because really we ran into a lot of times trying to do it weekly where there was just nothing to talk about. You really had to stretch it out.
Yeah, and you guys would have, and it would have been really bad if NCAA football uniforms wasn't the mess that it is.
Right, because that sustained us for a long time, but. It's going to be monthly. Mike and I are going to be in on it. Adam from the boards is going to be in on it. The other two Mikes will be in on it at some way or another. We don't know exactly how just yet. But the website's still there, logocast.com. The Twitter site is still up and running, so keep your eye out for that. We'll update you here on Basically a Sports Show on the progress and all that. But I know that the original iteration of the show had quite a few fans, so I thought that maybe those that are crossover listeners to this show would be happy that we're going to take another run at it. So there you go. Big announcement.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so like I said, new format, lot of new different approaches to it, but same content where all of us logo and uniform geeks can get together and just geek out and talk all that stuff that we talk about.
Indeed.
And with that, are we ready to call it a night?
I think we are.
Okay, follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Go to the website, basicallyasportshow.com. The email address is basicallyasportshow@gmail.com. And Mike, Basically a Geek Show. You guys know what you're doing this week?
We're going to talk some Batman, Superman. Jack and I are going to talk a bit more about the Dawn of Justice title and everything that movie looks like it's going to be. And we're also going to be talking some Transformers Age of Extinction because as we're getting closer to the release date, we're getting more trailers, we're getting more leaks, we're getting more character designs, so there's going to be a lot of Transformers stuff to talk about.
So that's going to do it for us. We will see you next time right here on Basically a Sports Show.
See ya.
Please hang up and try again.